June 9th, 1996. Melanie Hall, 25, dances beneath the strobe lights of Cadillacs nightclub until a jealous argument leaves her stranded. At 1:10 a.m., she sits alone. Somewhere nearby, evil watches. Then, nothing. She vanishes. 13 years later, her remains are discovered, bound and broken, stuffed in a black bag beside a lonely motorway. Her killer? Still free, still silent, still out there. Who murdered Melanie Hall and why? Let's unravel this chilling mystery that still cries out for justice. Welcome to Crimes That Haunt Us. We release a new case every Sunday at 6 p.m, so hit subscribe and don't miss the next one. And let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. To truly understand the weight of this loss, we must first know who Melanie Hall was, not just the victim in the headlines, but the daughter, sister, and friend whose life was full of promise. Her story begins in a quiet English town, far from the horrors that would one day claim her. On August 20th, 1970, Melanie Hall was born in the picturesque market town of Bradford-on-Avon, Wiltshire, just 5 miles southeast of Bath. Nestled along the river Avon with its honey-colored stone buildings and rolling hills, this idyllic setting painted a serene backdrop for Melanie's early life. Melanie's parents, Stephen and Patricia Hall, were pillars of their community in Bradford-on-Avon. Steve, a respected local figure, served as a chairman of Bath City Football Club, a role that placed him at the heart of the city's sporting culture. Patricia, a devoted mother, described Melanie as her young, vibrant daughter, a beacon of ambition and warmth. Melanie shared a deep bond with her sister, Dominique Hall, in their close-knit family. Friends described Melanie as bubbly and kind, a magnetic presence who lit up rooms. After completing secondary school, Melanie enrolled at the prestigious University of Bath in 1991. She pursued a degree in sociology and psychology, disciplines that reflected her curiosity about human behavior. Her dedication shone through 4 years of study, culminating in a degree that marked a milestone in her ambitious journey. In 1995, Melanie graduated from the University of Bath, a triumph that fulfilled a cherished dream, as Patricia proudly recalled. At the graduation ceremony, surrounded by family, she stood on the cusp of a bright future. But little did they know, within a year, Melanie's name would be synonymous not with achievement, but with one of Britain's most enduring mysteries. Melanie secured a position as a clerical officer at the Royal University Hospital in Bath. Her role involved administration tasks, filing, scheduling, and supporting the hospital's operations, a steady job that anchored her in Bath's medical community. At the RUH, she met Dr. Philip Kerlbaum, a newly qualified doctor of German descent, sparking a romance that shaped her final weeks. Their shared workplace fostered a whirlwind romance, blending late-night shifts with stolen moments. A colleague recalled Melanie's infectious laugh, sharing how she once stayed late to comfort a nervous patient, her warmth bridging the sterile hospital halls. She had a way of making everyone feel seen, the colleague said. June 8, 1996 was electric in Bath. England faced Switzerland in the opening match of the Euro '96 football championship, igniting a feverish atmosphere. On the morning of June 8th, Patricia drove Melanie to the Bath flat of Dr. Philip Kerlbaum. Melanie, dressed for a weekend of fun, carried a small bag, her heart light with plans. Patricia waved goodbye, unaware it would be the last time she saw her daughter alive. On the evening of June 8th, the couple, joined by friends, headed out to soak in the Euro '96 excitement, with Cadillacs nightclub as their final destination. Melanie, Philip, and another couple stepped into Cadillacs nightclub on Walcott Street, Bath. The venue, a hotspot in the 1990s, throbbed with pounding music, flashing lights, and a sea of dancers. The group laughed and danced, blending into the crowd. But beneath the revelry, tension simmered, setting the stage for a fateful clash. As the night unfolded at Cadillacs, a rift emerged between Melanie and Philip Curlborn, her boyfriend. Witnesses reported a heated argument. Its sparks ignited when Curlborn allegedly saw Melanie dancing with another man. The exchange, fueled by jealousy and alcohol, fractured their evening. His reaction, swift and emotional, culminated in his abrupt departure from the club. This pivotal moment, etched in witnesses' memories, left Melanie without her partner, a decision that would haunt Curlborn for decades and fuel speculation about what followed. Melanie's friends, caught in the nightclub's chaos, assumed she would reconcile with Curlborn and head to his flat, where she had planned to stay. This assumption, made in the haze of music and drinks, proved catastrophic. No one checked on Melanie after Curlborn's exit, leaving her alone in Cadillacs. Their oversight, innocent yet devastating, created a gap in the timeline that investigators still struggled to fill. Bath in 1996 was not just a city of Georgian charm and Euro 96 fervor, it harbored a darker undercurrent. A string of unsolved assaults on women, some linked to the so-called Batman pist, had rattled the community, exposing vulnerabilities in its vibrant nightlife. As Melanie sat alone at Cadillacs, the city's shadows loomed closer, a predator's playground hidden beneath the festive lights. In an unrelated incident just hours before Melanie Hall's disappearance, Avon and Somerset police found themselves investigating a chilling crime that would later be potentially linked. Earlier in the evening on June 8, 1996, a woman narrowly escaped an attempted carjacking at knife point in a nearby car park, sustaining injuries during her struggle but managing to flee. Her assailant, later dubbed the Batman rapist due to a baseball cap with a Batman logo left at the scene of one of his attacks, was a serial sex offender known to target women in the Bath area during the 1990s. The Batman rapist, active from 1991 to 1996, was notorious for targeting women in their 20s, often at night, using a knife to intimidate and overpower. His attacks, marked by meticulous planning and a chilling ability to evade capture, left Bath's women on edge. The proximity of the June 8th carjacking attempt, mere hours before Melanie's disappearance and just streets away from Cadillacs, raised alarms. Could this serial attacker, never identified despite extensive police efforts, have escalated to murder that night? The lack of DNA or forensic evidence linking him to Melanie's case keeps this theory tantalizingly out of reach, yet it casts a dark shadow over Bath's nightlife in 1996. At 1:10 a.m. on June 9, 1996, Melanie Hall was last seen alive, perched on a stool at Cadillac's dance floor edge. Witnesses glimpsed her, alone yet composed, her pale blue silk dress catching the club's strobe lights. The moment, frozen in their memories, marks the final verified sighting of Melanie. Surrounded by strangers, she sat on the cusp of oblivion, unaware that her next steps would lead into a void. Melanie's appearance at Cadillacs was striking. A pale blue silk dress that shimmered under the lights, black suede mule shoes, and a cream single-breasted long-sleeved jacket. She carried a black satchel-type handbag, practical yet stylish. Adorning her were a next watch and silver drop earrings and a poignant heirloom, her grandmother's gold-patterned wedding ring. Between 1:45 and 2 a.m., a witness came forward reporting seeing a woman resembling Melanie arguing with a man on Old Orchid, a narrow street just steps from Cadillac's entrance. The woman, dressed in a light-colored outfit, appeared agitated, her voice raised in the quiet night. Police, unable to confirm it was Melanie, treat this sighting as critical. The Old Orchid witness, whose identity remains protected, provided only a fleeting glimpse of the argument, their account muddled by the night's darkness and distance. The man's identity, his face obscured by shadows, remains a phantom in the case. Was this Melanie caught in a fatal encounter or a red herring in a maze of clues? Police view the sighting as a potential glimpse into Melanie's final moments, a snapshot of her crossing paths with her killer. The street's proximity to Cadillacs, just a minute's walk, suggests a swift exit from the club, perhaps coerced or lured. The lack of a clear description of the man fuels speculation. Was he a stranger, a clubgoer, or someone Melanie knew? And just like that, it was as if Melanie evaporated into air. In late 1996, police would release a chilling e-fit of a man seen inside Cadillacs with a woman resembling Melanie. The e-fit man's description is etched in the case's lore. A white male, mid to late 20s, standing at 5'10" with a medium frame. His dark brown hair, dark brown eyes, and bushy eyebrows gave him a striking look, softened by a clean-shaven face. Clad in a brown silk shirt, black trousers, and shoes, he accessorized with a possible gold hoop earring and a gaudy gold watch. This vivid portrait, from a witness's memory, places him at Cadillacs, perhaps watching Melanie as the night unfolded. This man, a ghost in the investigation, remains unidentified, his presence a lingering question mark over Melanie's final hours. Is this the same man seen outside talking to Melanie, or perhaps the man she was seen dancing with by her boyfriend earlier in the evening, or perhaps both? Avon and Somerset Police's appeals, as recently as 2023, plead for his identity, re-releasing his likeness to jolt memories. Was he a regular at Cadillacs, a stranger passing through, or someone closer to Melanie's circle? Her disappearance, swift and silent, left a void that baffled friends and police, launching a mystery that endures nearly 3 decades later. Melanie never reached Kerborne's flat, where she intended to stay, shattering her weekend plans. Her whereabouts after 1:10 a.m. form a black hole in the case, a gap where theories of abduction, betrayal, or a random predator collide. On June 10, 1996, alarm bells rang when Melanie failed to show up for her shift at the Royal United Hospital. Her absence, so unlike her, prompted colleagues to alert authorities. On June 11th, Stephen and Patricia Hall reported their daughter missing, their worry turning to terror. Avon and Somerset Police launched a missing person inquiry, combing Bath for the signs of the 25-year-old. The hospital, once her workplace, became a focal point of dread as the search began for a woman who seemed to have evaporated. Melanie's boyfriend, Philip Carjacking, assumed she had simply gone home after their argument inside the nightclub. On June 17, 1996, Philip Carjacking, shattered by guilt and loss, publicly expressed his devastation over Melanie's disappearance. Speaking to the media, the young doctor recounted his regret at leaving Cadillacs, his voice breaking as he pleaded for answers about her. Meanwhile, police divers scoured the River Avon in Bath, fearing Melanie had met a watery grave. The search, spanning key stretches of the river, yielded nothing, no trace of the vibrant woman who had vanished 9 days prior. In November 1996, BBC's Crimewatch aired a gripping reconstruction of Melanie's last known movements at Cadillacs. Actors retraced her steps, dancing, arguing, sitting alone, hoping to jolt viewers' memories. The program, watched by millions, pleaded for tips about the e-fit man or the old orchid couple seen arguing. But despite a flurry of calls, no significant leads emerged, deepening the case's enigma. In 1998, Stephen and Patricia Hall, their hope fading, made a heart-wrenching appeal for information about Melanie's whereabouts. Standing before cameras, they begged for closure, their voices raw with grief. Meanwhile, speculation began to swirl around John Cannan, a convicted killer with ties to Bristol, suspected in Susie Lamplu's 1986 disappearance. Police questioned Cannan at HM Prison Durham over claims he had boasted about plotting Melanie's murder, but no evidence linked him. The appeal and Cannan's shadow kept the case alive, yet answers remained out of reach. In August 1999, police renewed their search of the River Avon, sending divers into the waters between Cleveland Bridge and Chatham Row in Bath. The stretch, close to Cadillacs, was scoured for traces of Melanie, her clothing, handbag, or her remains. The operation, driven by faint hopes stirred by new tips, drew crowds of onlookers. Yet the river, as it had in 1996, remained silent, yielding no clues. The fruitless search deepened the sense that Melanie's fate lay elsewhere, hidden by a cunning killer. Between 2003 and 2010, Avon and Somerset police arrested several men in their 30s and 40s from Bath and Wiltshire, chasing leads from local tips to confessions. Homes were searched, fields combed, and a witness named Shelley sought, but each suspect was released without evidence. Each confessor, their stories unraveling under scrutiny. These fleeting breakthroughs, brief sparks of hope, only deepened the case's labyrinth. On November 17, 2004, Melanie Hall was declared legally dead in absentia, a somber legal step after 8 years without a trace. The court's ruling, sought by her family, acknowledged the grim reality. Melanie was gone. Steve and Patricia, their lives on hold, faced the unbearable task of accepting her loss without a body or answers. On October 5, 2009, workmen clearing vegetation on the northbound slip road of Junction 14 on the M5 motorway near Thornbury, South Gloucestershire, stumbled upon a black plastic bag. Inside were human bones, a pelvis, thigh bone, skull, and a gold-patterned ring. The discovery, 30 miles from Bath, sent shockwaves through the investigation. The bag, hidden for 13 years in thick undergrowth, held Melanie's remains, a grim relic of a crime concealed in plain sight. The remains had been disarticulated, indicating a possible attempt to conceal her identity and the true nature of her death. Her full skeleton has never been recovered. On October 7th, 2 days later, forensic experts confirmed the bones belonged to Melanie Hall, identified through dental records and her great-grandmother's gold-patterned ring, a cherished heirloom. Stephen and Patricia and Dominique Hall, shown the ring's intricate design, faced a heart-wrenching moment, their grief confirmation reigniting a searing wound. The discovery ended 13 years of agonizing limbo for the Halls family, but opened a new mystery. Who had murdered their daughter, their vibrant sister? The bones, a pelvis, thigh bone, and skull, bore several fractures, hinting at brutal trauma. Wrapped in blue polypropylene rope, tightly expertly knotted around the bones, pointed to a killer who bound their victim. This blue rope, commonly used in construction or boating, was a mass-produced item in 1996, making its source nearly impossible to trace. Its expert knots, tight and deliberate, suggested a killer with practical skills, perhaps in trades or outdoor pursuits. Forensic teams, hampered by 13 years of exposure to rain and soil, struggled to extract a full DNA profile from the rope's fibers. This faint genetic hint, too incomplete for a match, remains a cruel tease, a clue that would name Melanie's killer if technology or a tip unlocks its secrets. Alongside Melanie's remains, a chilling clue emerged. 3 rusty Ford car keys, possibly for a Transit, Fiesta or Escort, lay near the M5 slip road. Police, sensing a link to her killer's vehicle, worked with Ford to trace them, launching a Crimewatch Appeal that sparked over 200 calls. Yet the keys' owner remains a ghost, their rusted surfaces silent after years in the undergrowth. Forensic criminologist Professor Jane Monckton Smith, a crime scene expert, posited that Melanie was likely murdered elsewhere, perhaps in a vehicle or secluded property, with the M5 slip road at Junction 14 serving as a mere deposition site. Monckton Smith noted the slip road's isolation, chosen for its lack of CCTV cameras, its low visibility, no streetlights, no regular foot traffic like dog walkers or joggers, made it an ideal choice for concealment. Monckton Smith argued the killer knew the area intimately, perhaps a local or frequent traveler of the M5. This calculated choice, a predator's precision, kept Melanie's remains hidden for 13 years. Monckton Smith also suggested the killer was likely a methodical individual, possibly in their 20s or 30s in 1996, with a calculated approach to crime. The precise knots, careful wrapping, and remote dump site point to someone with control, perhaps a history of stalking or lesser offenses. This profile, organized, local, forensically aware, suggests a predator who blended seamlessly into Bath's community, their normalcy a mask for their depravity. The trauma's severity, shattered bone, implies rage or intent to kill. Forensic experts speculate the blows were perimortal, perhaps in her final moments. These wounds speak of a killer's brutality, yet offer no name to their perpetrator. In October 2009, a 37-year-old man from Cheadle, Greater Manchester, walked into a police station and confessed to Melanie's murder. His claim, dramatic and unexpected, briefly reignited a spark of hope. But a psychiatric evaluation exposed his delusion. He knew less about the case than the police, his story crumbling under scrutiny. Eliminated as a red herring, he became a mere footnote in the investigation, a distraction from the real killer still at large. Police pinned their hopes on Melanie's great-grandmother's patent gold ring found with her remains, seeking forensic traces that might unlock the case. The ring, a cherished heirloom worn on her middle finger by Melanie, was scrutinized for DNA, fingerprints or fibers, anything to link it to her killer, but no breakthroughs emerged. On December 11, 2009, Melanie Hall's funeral took place in Bath, a heart-wrenching farewell 13 years after she vanished. Her family and friends and the wider community gathered to honor the vibrant 25-year-old whose life was so cruelly stolen. Stephen, Patricia, and Dominique Hall mourned publicly, their grief a communal wound. In July 2013, Avon and Somerset police announced a tantalizing lead. A white A-Reg Mark I Volkswagen Golf GTI seen driving around Bath in 1996 had become a significant line of inquiry. The vehicle, traced to Gloucestershire, underwent forensic examination, its seats, trunk, and tires meticulously scoured for any trace of Melanie's presence. The current owner had no connection to the case, but the identity of the 1996 driver remains unknown, a shadow lingering over the investigation. Police also uncovered credible clues about the blue polypropylene rope's possible origin, but details remained guarded, fueling speculation about a breakthrough just out of reach. Between November 2013 and June 2016, Avon and Somerset police made several arrests, including a 44-year-old man from Bath in 2013 and a 45-year-old in 2016, following forensic developments such as DNA traces found at the M5 site. Homes were raided and suspects were questioned intensively, but each was ultimately released on bail, with the evidence proving too weak to bring charges. In March 2014, police issued a fresh appeal, a renewed focus on the White Volkswagen Golf GTI Cabriolet, revealing its ties to Cardiff in 1996, specifically the Pentwyn area during the key period of April to early August 1996. This vehicle, with a registration number of C752CYE, was not listed on the DVLA at the time and became a focal point in the investigation. Detectives appealed to anyone familiar with the car in the Cardiff-Pentwyn region to come forward. Despite public curiosity, no leads surfaced. In October 2019, Avon and Somerset police announced a renewed focus on the DNA from the blue polypropylene rope encasing that bound Melanie's remains. Detective Chief Inspector James Rico, leading the case, appealed for tips about anyone who owned similar rope in 1996 or who showed behavioral shifts, sudden changes like absences or paranoia after June 9th, 1996. But with 11 arrests and no charges, Rico's plea underscored a case teetering on the edge of a breakthrough or oblivion. In October 2020, Avon and Somerset Police relaunched their appeal, re-releasing the chilling 1996 e-fit of the Cadillacs man and details of the Old Orchid sighting. They reported over 1,700 public tips and 5,300 investigative actions, a staggering effort. Melanie's parents, undaunted, reinstated a £50,000 reward, with Crime Stoppers adding £10,000, a desperate bid for a tip to crack the case. The appeal, a cry into the void, sought to shake loose the e-fit man's identity or M5 clues, or a witness with new insights, yet the silence persisted, unbroken. On the 28th of September 2023, Channel 5 aired a documentary called The Body in the Bag, The Murder of Melanie Hall, reigniting public fascination. Stephen and Dominique Hall shared raw grief, with Dominique pleading for compassion for their elderly parents, stating, "We live for Melanie's justice. Mum and Dad deserve to know who took her before it's too late." Superintendent James Rico revealed a bold theory, positing Melanie likely knew her killer. Throughout the investigation, several high-profile killers emerged as suspects. Christopher Halliwell, a double murderer convicted for killing Shan O'Callaghan in 2011 and Becky Godden Edwards in 2003, looms a chilling figure in Melanie's case. Retired Detective Chief Superintendent Steve Livings highlighted Halliwell's pattern: murder, abducting, raping, dumping bodies, mirroring a pattern eerily similar to Melanie's case. A taxi driver and a delivery man, Halliwell knew the M5's desolate stretches, possibly passing through Bath in 1996. No direct evidence ties him, but his shadow lingers, a persistent spectre, a predator whose crimes may extend further than known. John Cannan, a convicted killer and key suspect in the 1986 disappearance of Susie Lamplugh, was also scrutinized in connection with Melanie Hall's murder. His roots in Bristol and his history of targeting young women raised serious suspicions. In 1998, police investigated claims that he had boasted about the crime from HMP Prison Durham, but no evidence emerged to link him. Cannan's name, a dark thread woven through several unsolved cases, adds a layer of intrigue, but his role in Melanie's case remains a speculative shadow. The Batman Pist, a serial sex offender whose attacks terrorized Bath in the 1990s, was considered a suspect in Melanie Hall's case. Named for leaving a Batman logo cap at one crime scene, his brazen, violent assaults on women echoed the brutality of Melanie's murder. Active around 1996 with intimate knowledge of Bath streets, he was linked to an attempted carjacking just hours before Melanie vanished on June 9, 1996, heightening suspicions. But despite police investigations, no conclusive link was found, leaving his role a chilling possibility, a predator who might have crossed paths with Melanie that night. Partial DNA traces on the blue polypropylene rope remains the investigation's golden lifeline. Found years after 2009, the discovery, the degraded traces, too faint, too incomplete, offer no full profile or public match, at least yet. And despite 11 arrests, no one's ever been charged, with each suspect, their identities never revealed, slipping through the net. Melanie Hall's life, brimming with promise, pulsing with warmth, was stolen in a heartbeat on that fateful June night in 1996, leaving a void that echoes through her family's lives. Her vibrant spirit, marked by ambition, kindled by kindness, deserved a future filled with love and dreams of achievement, not the cold grip of an unsolved tragedy. Her parents Stephen and Patricia, and sister Dominique, carry their endless grief into their twilight years. A heavy load, their unyielding quest for justice honors Melanie's memory, a beacon of hope piercing against the darkness that took her. Her story, though shrouded in mystery, reminds us a poignant call to cherish every moment and to never stop seeking the truth, for a life so cruelly silenced, a life that demands answers. Thank you for watching and listening to Melanie's story. Please feel free to add your own thoughts, comments and theories in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.